Can you be MAGA and a Christian? Well, let's look at that. What did Jesus stand for? Compassion, kindness, empathy, forgiveness, feeding people that were poor, curing the sick. He literally gave his life for other people. And his greatest commandment was to love thy neighbor as thyself. Let's look at what their Jesus stands for. Jesus of Mar-a-Lago. Rape, insurrection, calling Colin Kaepernick a son of a bitch, making fun of Elizabeth Warren, calling her Pocahontas, insulting the wife of Ted Cruz, cheating on his third wife, because I thought marriage was between one man and one woman, having sex with a porn star while his third failed marriage is at home with their 2-week-old son, tax fraud, not running to black people, questioning the birth of Barack Obama, a black president, asking for the execution of the Central Park Five, having dinner with white supremacist Nick Fuentes at his house, stealing from cancer charities, grabbing women by the PU blankety blankety blank. I hate Taylor Swift. I hate Democrats. Now you tell me, does that sound like the traits of Jesus of Nazareth? No, it doesn't. Because they're not Christians. They serve an antichrist. You cannot serve two masters. And what you're going to hear from these Pharisees, because that's what they are. The Pharisees are the people, or the Sanhedrin, that crucified Jesus in the name of God. Because Jesus was a radical left socialist lib. That's how they view Jesus. They never wanted Jesus. They have always chosen Barabbas, the insurrectionist who cheerfully and gleefully owned the libs, who wanted to burn Rome to the ground, who took the lives of people. That is who MAGA has always wanted, and that's who they've always chosen. Because it was never about Jesus of Nazareth. What it has been always about since day one from this country has been about maintaining white supremacy. And they've done that through religion. There are people today that still think that this is a Christian nation, even though we had slavery, Jim Crow, segregation. We lynched people in front of churches and left their bodies there while we went to church and praised Jesus, right? We murdered Martin Luther King because he wanted equal rights as white people. Colin Kaepernick lost his job just because he took a knee. John Lewis almost lost his life for just wanting to vote. Yeah, such a Christian nation. And for all of you, don't judge. By your fruits shall you be judged. By the same measure you judge, lest you be judged. Judge thy neighbor fairly. Remove the log from your own eye before you see the speck in your brother's. When the guard had his ear cut off by Peter, you know what Jesus did? He put it back on. And he said, he who lives by the sword shall die by the sword. What would Jesus say today, MAGA? When 40,000 people every year are losing their lives from gun violence. What would he say? Would Jesus say, come and get it, lib, steal it from my cold dead hands? No. He would demand change. He would want the lives of people to be safe when they go to school, but not you, because you don't serve Jesus. You serve the NRA. You care more about a Second Amendment that was written by morally bankrupt slave owners that were racist white supremacists that own black people. You care more about that piece of paper, those two sentences, than you do about the lives of people, which is literally the opposite of what Jesus taught, the way he lived his life. Love thy neighbor as thyself. I don't care if you're gay, straight, trans, bi. I don't care if you're in a cult and you wear a MAGA hat and you're a white supremacist. That's what Jesus taught. But who do you demonize? Who do you judge? I thought God was the judge. You demonize gay people, trans people, minorities, black people, immigrants. But if you're white and you rape women and you're a felon and you have dinner with white supremacists, somehow you're a Christian man and you can't judge. It's funny how the white man always gets a free pass from judgment, but every other person that you can put your foot on, that you crap all over them. Isn't that ironic? A lot of young men in this country are defined by this toxic masculinity. They have the emotional maturity of a 7th grader. That's it. They know one thing. They're told that they're a hammer and everything else is a nail. They're devoid of compassion. They don't want empathy or sympathy. They see January 6th and they see patriotism. They see a man that wears orange makeup and diapers and rapes women, and he's a patriot because he's white. You can import white immigrants from South Africa because, they're the right color. So no, Jesus wasn't white, just for the record. He was an immigrant. And if Jesus came to the door of MAGA today, they would ask him, are you a legal U.S. citizen? Can I see your documentation? And they would either put him back up on the cross in the name of God, because, that's what we're supposed to do as MAGA evangelicals, or they would call ICE on him. That's exactly how they would treat Jesus. And if Jesus ran against Donald Trump in an election, you know who they would vote for. They don't want this compassionate, kind person. We saw that in the 2024 election. Was Vice President Harris perfect? No. But they couldn't stomach a black woman. She talked about happiness and joy and kindness, empathy. Let's find common ground. Screw that. We don't want that. We want the white man who's a rapist. So no, you're not Christians. You're not even peoples of faith. You have more in common with Satan than you do with Jesus, because you both believe in God and neither one of you follow him. And if you don't like that, then think about this when you go to church this morning on this Sunday. You're going to Joe with your Joe in the Hill bumper sticker and your F Joe Biden flag, and you're watching 28 hours of Fox News. And you're supporting a man who rapes women, who's a convicted felon, who can't even tell you what his favorite book in the Bible is. And you're going to call yourself a Christian? Spare me your crocodile tears.